Rachel here. Welcome to my Slow TV Stitchery. Well, good morning everybody. On we go. I don't think I'll quite finish today, although I may. Just realised I changed the ink cartridges in the printer yesterday, and the yellow dripped, and it actually is remarkably permanent, and in spite of washing my hands multiple times, it's still there in places, which, oh well. So one of the things I've been thinking about is whether to edge the cape with some couched gold of some description. And also whether to edge the yoke of the cape, which you can't see anymore, but if you recall is all green, 2 shades of green, whether to edge that with something green just to point up the points of the yoke. So we'll see. I think once I have the whole of the background in place, it will be much easier to assess what, if anything, the design needs. But I had a nice time yesterday rummaging through at least some of my metal threads. Not my favourite pack of them, which is yet to return to captivity. But I have a few. I've spent some time looking for pictures of the animals that I can use as starting points for the symbols of the evangelist. And it's been interesting that the image search results have been of variable utility. It is easy to get a majestic or or even pensive looking lion in profile, which I think is what I want, complete with mane, looking all very splendid. So one could take the basic contours from that and then render it in whatever artistic style seemed best, with a bit of added crookedness. Well, you don't need to add crookedness, frankly. It will get added in the process of stitching. But lions are easy. Ox, less so. If you search for ox, what you get is musk ox, and I think that's not the style I want, not the style of animal I want. So I thought about it a bit more, and then I tried bull, and most of the entries seemed to be the bull sculpture on Wall Street, or bullfights, or pit bull terriers, or bulldogs. And lest you wonder what that's telling you about my search history, the browser I use does not track what I've searched, because regrettably, in my experience, in the days when I used Google, I searched for Amana related things and it gave me back my own blog, which isn't what I wanted. So quite apart from any privacy concerns, I find their idea of personalisation unhelpful in the extreme. So I have no idea why DuckDuckGo thought that I would like to see the charging bull, but I presume there was such an almighty fuss about the statue when it went in that everyone was talking about it. Hey ho. And the eagles were mostly headshots, which didn't include the shoulders, and I think I want to include the shoulders and the tips, the forward edge of the wings. So I am not sure quite how that's going to come together. Not at all sure. But we are used to not being at all sure how things are going to come together, and eventually they do. So I am giving some thought to Placidus. I am getting almost to the stage where I may have to attach some rough paper to the wall that it's intended for. I should say, I did originally have an intended wall for the Amana project. It was going to go in the dining room on two panels which were going to be in the alcoves on either side of the fireplace. By the time I worked out most of the approach, those two alcoves were filled with bookshelves. And given that in our house bookshelf space is something of a premium, I am not willing to take the bookshelves down in order to put a Moana up. So genuinely, when it comes to having that exhibition I would like to have, it will be a selling exhibition, because I will be very happy to be rid of a variety of pieces that I'm very proud of, but will only be in the way. However, back to Placidus. At the moment, the idea for it is the wall above the bed. So I am almost at the stage of thinking I actually can't plan it until I've put some paper up there and done some big rough sketches. So I can imagine putting a dust sheet over the bed, because I don't want to use fibre tip pen in case it goes through the paper onto the wall, because redecorating the bedroom is not in the scheme of things. So a dust sheet so that I can use pastels or something like that. And do some very rough drawing, and when I've got a pattern of approximate shapes I'm happy with, I will be able to start to plan the design, and indeed find something to stretch the base fabric on. 5 foot by 4 foot. I don't have a space in the house big enough to have a 5 foot by 4 foot piece on a frame permanently. So I'm still trying to work out the logistics. I may lose my nerve and do Jason and Medea first, because that's only meant to be a bit bigger than this. We shall see. But anyway, yes, you are to imagine at least some of the planning will take the form of me scrambling on the bed, doing rough drawings with pastel or really big pencil on rough paper, and seeing what I think. One of the thoughts has been to zoom in, if you like, so that maybe Placidus and his horse fill the screen, as it were, and that would reduce the challenge of laying out the forest pleasingly around the main characters. And I've taken a lot of photographs of forest glades, one way and another, since I thought of this idea. The other question is music to stitch to. I've been wondering if you actually need two sorts of stitching music. Something to keep you alert and interested when you're doing something like this, which is well understood and just a matter of perseverance. So maybe, in fact, the best in this case is music with a twist, so something like Red Priest version of Baroque rather than Geordie Savile. Or musical jokes of various sorts. Trick with that is that they're only jokes if you know the thing they're riffing off, which I don't always. I sometimes have a vague suspicion that the musician may be up to something, without actually knowing what. One of the challenges I have with Placidus is that I'm not sure quite what style I want to start from, perhaps. Nothing I do is going to be a needle painted rendition of a design that I've fully worked out in paint first. It wouldn't take advantage of the things about embroidery that I love. but there's a style of line, a style of shape and form. Some of them more appealing than others. If you think about the visual style of working in animation, because it's so much easier to see and recollect. If you think of the visual style of Beauty and the Beast as against the style of drawing in Hercules, there's a whole different sense of line and imagery there. And I have the same sense that I could have quite a few starting points for Placidus, because he's, I think, a 1st or 2nd century Roman. So it wouldn't be silly to use the Byzantine style. But it would be interesting to consider doing it in the style of a Greek red and black ware with extra colour, or something more medieval. Start with the lateral saltus, say, and work outwards from there. But there's also the sense of the painting. Now, I don't need to be too close to that, because apart from anything else, when I went to the National Gallery to have a look at the Pisanello painting, not only is the painting not nearly as big as I expected it to be, I won't say I was disappointed, but I was certainly startled. One of the things about learning your history of art from books is that you end up with no real sense of how big things are. The Pisanello is only about A3 in size, and it doesn't have nearly the presence that you expect when you've seen it in reproduction. I think because you half expect it to be not life-size, but at least covering a whole wall, and it doesn't come close. But I found 2 or 3 other painters' renditions of the same legend, so I'm not even if I were working on paintings, I could start from the legend and work outwards. But I'm starting from a book, remember. And the book has the scene set in an English woodland. The edges of this canvas are really very tricky. Because they've stretched in odd ways. But nearly finished. And when I finally mount it on something, I can presumably cover the edges with cord or something, and no one needs to see it. Which will be a blessing, believe you me. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed following along. Happy stitching!